My friend went behind my back and told my boyfriend about what I did that night.
This is going to be a crazy story once you read it, and it's one that's full of betrayals. I don't know where to start, but I'll try and put together everything for you guys to understand. The mistake I made was from when I agreed to go out with the girls and everything ruined my relationship. I don't think that was what ruined it, but it was my friend that did. Hey Redditors, my name is Catherine and I'm 21. My boyfriend is 22 years old, just 1 year older, and his name is Max. I'm an average college student with average grades, and I take my studies pretty seriously. I'm sort of an introvert and I don't like being around people. You can say I'm a shy person because I don't talk to anyone unless they start the conversation first. I grew up in a family of 4 and my parents were really strict. It wasn't like my mom and dad loved each other because they fought lots of time. My brother usually stopped them and they apologized to him, but I just watched the whole drama. The frustrating thing was that they weren't strict to my brother and it was just me. I remember the first time I lashed out at them and asked them about why they were so strict to me, and they told me these exact words: "Because you're a girl and we care about you." Those words upset me to hear, and I didn't know why I had to have a tough life just because I was a girl. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere or meet up with friends, and I felt so trapped with that. My brother, on the other hand, was a free person and could do anything he wanted. I think he was spoiled, but they didn't bother about it. By the time I was 20, I was ready for college, and I was glad that I could finally leave the house. I thought they would have told me to pick the college I wanted to go to, but I raised my expectations too high. They chose the college that was closest to home, so I would be able to come home immediately anytime they give us holidays. But it wasn't that close either. I was still happy I was leaving the house and having time to do anything I wanted. I moved into the girls' dorms and I had one roommate. Her name is Claire, and I felt like she was the complete opposite of me. I didn't talk to her much, but she usually tried starting conversations with me. 3 months passed and I was beginning to open up with Catherine. I observed her during the 3 months that had passed, and I confirmed about her being the opposite of me. Her personality was way different because she was wild, outgoing, and just completely weird, but I liked her that way. I also met another friend at one of the classes I attended, and her name was June. She was just like Claire, and I didn't know how both of them could keep up with my shyness and the way I didn't talk, but they did. June and Claire also vibed immediately when they met each other because they were so alike. 6 months had passed and I was still that introverted type of person because I wasn't used to going out or doing anything much. This was when I met my boyfriend, Max. Did I mention I took study really seriously? Well, yeah, I did. That day I went to the library to get some materials for work and I bumped into someone. I know it sounds like one fairy tale, but it's actually true. It was more like he bumped into me when he was rushing out of the library. He apologized and I said no worries. We met again in class and that was how we began talking. He asked a question and I answered it in class. He came to me after class and said he liked the way I answered the question and he liked smart people. He asked me if we could make study sessions and I agreed. That was how we started dating. He asked me out and I turned him down at first, but then I didn't want to be trapped anymore and wanted to do the opposite of what my parents always said, so I agreed. I didn't know how relationships worked, and I thought at 20 I had not even one boyfriend when people younger than me had already had 3 exes while I had not even one. So it was a great chance and I had my first boyfriend. The relationship was going well and he was a great person. He was even better in bed. Yes, I slept with him and I was happy he was my first. He was so gentle with me and understanding. My parents also said something similar to "don't do it before you marry," but I didn't want to obey everything they said. My relationship with him was going great and it was fun rebelling against my family. June and Claire met Max and we became a whole group, just 4 of us always moving together. I thought things were going to be going great till I finished college and stood up to my parents about how unfairly they treated me, but that plan was soon cut short. I also noticed that Claire was acting weird and asking for information about my boyfriend, but I took it as she was just curious. Max comes from an average family just like me, and he was very smart. He was both an introvert and extrovert, and he was pretty open about everything. He usually spoke his mind, and I liked that about him. I was different from him because I wasn't able to say my mind, but I was able to tell him about how my life had been, and he said he was going to be there. A year had passed since then, and I was still that introverted person who didn't like going out. Max had been asking us to go out on dates, but I told him I preferred meeting him privately than going out because I hated crowds. Because I turned down his offers so much, he stopped asking me on dates. The girls noticed and said they didn't like that about me. June came to sleep over at our dorm that evening around 7 p.m. and they were acting weird. They both faced me and told me we should have a girls' night out. I knew what they were up to, so I told them I was not interested, but they kept pushing and saying we should go. I asked if there was going to be alcohol because I didn't want to drink that, and I'd observed how people acted when they drank alcohol and got drunk. My dad comes back late from wherever he works, and he was always drunk, and it made them fight a lot. My mind was already getting distracted thinking about them, but I snapped back to reality. Claire said there was a frat party happening and the guy's parents were out of town, so that was why they were hosting it. This wasn't the first time they were asking me to follow them to a party. I was used to turning them down. I still contemplated going, but they kept pushing, saying the party was starting by 8 and it was already 7:53. So I felt like I should tell Max I would be going to a party and asking if he would join us. But the girls protested, mentioning that it was a girls' night out, so a guy shouldn't join them. I told them I would be attending as long as I wasn't going to eat or drink anything there because I hated crowds and heard so many parties about these kinds of parties. I finally agreed to go with them and just put on one of my casual clothes. They complained about my dressing, but I said they should deal with it. I wanted to wear what I was comfortable with, and they agreed since I didn't want to go in the first place. I don't know what I expected once we got to the party, but this wasn't it. The noise was the first thing that hit me, followed by the smell of alcohol. I looked at Claire and June, knowing they tricked me, and they just laughed. I was supposed to get upset, but I didn't mind because I knew they wanted me to get a new experience with parties. I was frustrated just a little, and the smell of the alcohol was bothering me. Could you believe we hadn't even entered the house yet, and all this was bothering me? So yes, it was worse when we entered inside. The alcohol smell hit me harder as I stepped in the house, and I felt nauseated. A guy came to greet all three of us, and June and Claire acted so familiar with him, but I felt like I didn't belong. I didn't pay that attention, but I was more focused on the environment I was in. There were people everywhere talking at the same time while there was this blasting music. I couldn't even hear myself speak when I tried to tell June and Claire that I couldn't stay and I wanted to leave. I guess it didn't matter because before I knew it, they were no longer at my side and went off to God knows where. I know I could have just left, but at the same time, I hated this. I was curious to see and observe how this party would go. I was tired of standing, so I looked around the house for any empty seat. I had finally found one, and I was lucky because a guy and a girl had just finished making out there, and they wanted to take it somewhere else. I sat down, and it clicked to me that half of everyone had booze in their hand while half of them were making out. I don't know if it was up to 5 minutes, but I was getting tired and I was bored. I looked around to see if I could find June or Claire anywhere. Claire popped down beside me, and it shocked me. She laughed and she said something, but I didn't hear what it was because of the music. She had 2 drinks in her hand and handed me one, but I just shook my head because I already told her I wasn't going to drink. She moved closer, and I think it was because she knew I couldn't hear her. She put her mouth to my ears, and I heard her say that it wasn't alcohol and it was just like an energy drink. I shouldn't have believed me, but I did. I took the drink from her hand and tasted it. It didn't taste like a normal drink, and it burnt my throat. I haven't taken any alcohol before, so I didn't know what it tasted like. I squeezed my face as I drank it, and I looked at Claire. She was grinning, and she shouted because of the music, asking me if I liked it. The truth was, I didn't hate because it wasn't bad. She said it was a new type of drink similar to punch that I didn't know about, and there was no alcohol, so I foolishly believed her. I finished the drink, and she kept bringing more, and I don't know why I kept on drinking it. I tried standing up after a few drinks, and I lost my sense of balance, which made me fall back down. I was wondering why it happened, and I stood up again, but the same thing happened. That made me realize I was drunk, even when I didn't know what it felt like beforehand. There was someone else that came to sit beside me, and I thought it was Claire, but I was disappointed to see it was not. It was one of the popular guys that Claire and June talked about a lot, and I never seemed to grasp his name. I never thought I needed it, so I didn't pay close attention. Eventually, I realized he said his name was Eric, and he asked me for my name. I didn't tell him because I didn't have any reason to. He placed his hands on my thighs, but I quickly pushed it away because it felt uncomfortable. Perhaps he knew I was drunk and wanted to make out just like the others, but I wasn't going to become one of them. He kept saying things, and I was already getting tired. I wanted to leave and rest my head on my bed because I felt dizzy. I was hoping Claire would come and bail me out, and it was like she read my mind. She came with a smile on her face, but I returned her a frown. She looked at the guy beside me and she grinned, but she knew I was paying him no attention. So she asked the guy if he could please leave so she'll talk to me because I was her friend. He left and she kept grinning, and I asked her what the heck that was all about her. She said she should be asking me because I didn't know how popular he was, but I didn't care about all that. Instead, I complained to her about how I felt about the whole loss of balance and dizziness. I confirmed my thoughts, knowing I was drunk and I was upset with her. She apologized immediately, saying she just wanted me to experience this because I was a shut-in. I won't deny the fact that I was a shut-in, but that didn't give her the right to lie about a drink and tell me to drink it because I trusted her. I felt betrayed, but what I felt wasn't the same as what I was going to feel later, and I had no idea. I was about to tell her about how I wanted to leave because I'd had enough, and that was when the music came to a stop. The host, I assume, who was the guy that came to greet us, shining his teeth to everyone, said we should come together for a game. I wanted to remove myself from the whole thing, but unluckily for me, they were hosting the game at the side where I was sitting, and I didn't want to get up because of how I was feeling. I felt the chair press down and I looked at my side. I scoffed silently because it was this same Eric guy that had sat down. Before I knew it, there were already so many people coming together. I counted at least 15 on them and they began to form a circle. The area was not so big but not so small either. Some of them sat down on each other's laps while some sat down anywhere they saw fit, mostly on the floor too. I looked around and noticed that there were still a lot of people who seemed uninterested. I spotted June making out with somebody at one corner and I looked away. I knew she was that kind of person because she told me before that she just wanted to be free and not be in any relationship. I spotted Claire sitting on someone's lap, but she was part of the circle. Our eyes locked and she did that same grin she did before. I should have known she was planning something, but my mind was too scattered at that moment. The guy beside me, Eric, kept trying to place his hands on my shoulder or thighs, but I just kept pushing it off. I think few people noticed because I heard tiny laughter towards our direction. The people who seemed uninterested were making it rowdy everywhere, so the guy hosting the party told them to move to another place and shooed them away. He focused on all of us and cleared his throat. I think he was a bit drunk. Well, he said the game we were going to be playing was Truth and Dare. I hadn't gone to parties, but I didn't know this was something they did in parties. I tried standing up to leave, but I wasn't even halfway up and I fell back down. When I sat down, I felt something hard in the place where I was sitting, and I looked down beside me. It was Eric's hand, and I adjusted and pulled it off, and he just chuckled. I knew I was stuck here, so I just continued. The guy hosting it, someone who I never found out his name, and I didn't care much about knowing, gave us drinks, but I just dropped it beside me because I was already drunk. He told everyone to pick a number, and I was the number 6. How the game started was that he asked number 2 Truth or Dare, and the girl chose Dare. He told her to flash everyone, and I thought that was absurd. The penalty of not choosing Truth or Dare was to drink, so I was at a disadvantage. She flashed everyone, and they all acted amazed and laughed. He called number 3 next, and he chose the Truth. The guy asked him if he would cheat on his girlfriend for any celebrity, and he said yes. But the girlfriend was right there, so she hit his head, and everyone laughed. He called 2 more numbers, and I thought he wouldn't call me, but it was my turn. He asked me the Truth or Dare, and I picked the Truth. He asked me what my body count was. I didn't know the meaning of that when I entered college, but I knew it later on. I answered honestly and said 1, but they all looked at me in doubt. When they saw I was joking, they laughed, and I felt embarrassed. Was it so bad to just sleep with one person? The guy called Eric number who was 7, and he picked Dare. He told him to pick anyone in the room and kiss the person. I knew I was in trouble then. Eric immediately looked at me and everyone went, ooh. I shook my head and told them I couldn't because I had a boyfriend, but they all booed me. They told me if I didn't want to kiss him, that I had to drink then. I didn't want to do any, but Claire came beside me and whispered in my ears to just do it. She said Max would never find out since this was a game that was all between us and everyone was matured. I shouldn't have listened to her, but I think I was too drunk so I couldn't think straight. I let out a huge sigh and faced Eric. Someone started chanting, "Kiss him." Then everyone began chanting that. I felt too pressured, so I decided to just give in. I closed my eyes and went in for the kiss with Eric. His lips were softer than what I had expected, not like I was expecting anything. As I was kissing him, I didn't want us to stop. I think it was the effect of the alcohol that did that. He placed his hands on my thighs and moved it up to my waist, pulling me closer, and that made me snap back to reality. I broke apart from the kiss and cleaned my mouth after, wondering what I had just done. I looked at Eric and he had a wide smirk on his face. I never noticed Claire videoing us and keeping her phone as fast as she could so I wouldn't see her. The game went on and I signaled at Claire that I wanted to leave. I was getting more uncomfortable and I noticed it was getting late. She didn't answer at first because she was so into the game, giving some guys lap dances and making out with others. I kept disturbing her till she gave in. We looked around for June in the other room and she was giggling with someone. We told her it was time to leave and she shrugged, but she agreed. They said bye to the people they knew and we left. I didn't know the next morning was when everything was going to get ruined because of Claire. When I got back to the dorm, I threw up and felt bad. I couldn't stop thinking about the kiss because it didn't make me feel good. I was thinking of telling Max about it later, but I thought of what Claire said about it being between us. When I woke up the next morning, I threw up again and had a headache. Claire said it was expected, and I took some painkillers to make me feel better, and they worked. It was already noon, and it was on a weekend, so I was supposed to meet up with Max. I knew something was up when he called me and spoke so coldly to me that he wanted to see me. I told him okay, and I quickly cleaned up and met him at a cafeteria. I went in to hug him, and he blocked me, telling me to sit because he wanted to talk to me. He didn't say anything, but he just showed me a video on his phone. It was a video of me and Eric kissing the previous night. I watched it with shock in my eyes. I knew who was taking this video because of the angle I was in, and I even heard her voice. It was Claire, and I couldn't believe she backstabbed me. He collected his phone back from me, and I told him I could explain. He said he was listening, so I told him what had happened that night. It wasn't my fault because I was drunk, and it was peer pressure that made me kiss him. I asked him who sent the video, and he confirmed my suspicions, saying it was Claire. I tried apologizing to him, saying I kissed the guy because it was a game and I felt nothing, but he was no longer listening. He said he couldn't be with someone who would kiss strangers at random parties, and he broke up with me right there. I said I was sorry, but he didn't listen. I had to confront Claire, so I headed back to the dorm, but she wasn't around. I'm waiting for her right now. Update. Claire came back to the dorm with June in the evening, and the argument was a lot. June was confused since she had no idea about what happened, so I tried to summarize it to her. She asked Claire why she would do such a thing, and Claire admitted that she was jealous of me. That was surprising to hear. She said she envied our relationship and she doesn't regret ending it. I didn't know college was full of traitors, but I learned that. June told Claire she did a terrible thing by making a video and sending it to Max. But Claire kept saying she did nothing wrong because she didn't slam my lips to Eric. I felt hurt about that, but she was right. The holidays were coming up and I needed to leave school grounds for a while, so I went back home. My parents were shocked to see me without informing them, but I just told them I missed home. It was a lie deep down. Claire called me to apologize, but I can't be friends with her, not after she had snitched on me. June is my only friend now, but I don't think I can trust anyone easily. I miss Max, and I shouldn't have kissed that guy just because I was pressured. I guess I learned not to trust people easily or give in to peer pressure. My husband caught me cheating in my secret location and waited 3 days to brutally get me back. Hey Reddit, my name is Amanda, 33F, married to Dixon, 35M, for the last 3 years, which seems like 30 years if you ask me. To be very frank, I was never happy marrying Dixon. He was always busy with his work and hardly spent any time with me. Even when he was at home, he paid zero attention to anything that I spoke about or showed him. He was always engrossed in his work and never had time for me. I tried to talk to him about how I felt so lonely and unloved, but he dismissed it by saying that if I had a lot of free time, then I should put it to use and stop piling on. Wow, this was not the person that his parents described him to when they wanted me to marry their son. To be very honest, my parents wanted to get rid of me, and once they found someone rich who showed a reasonable amount of interest in their daughter, they readily agreed to have me married. They did not even try to check on me regularly, but always had time to call me when they needed money or help from Dixon. So I had no one I could talk to about my problems in my family. My friends were jealous that I got married off into a rich family and that I might be having the time of my life. Little did they know that it was very suffocating, but I was obviously not going to tell them that and let them live with their jealousy and assumptions. After 1 year of being married to Dixon, I had concluded that there was no point in trying to expect him to either spend time with me or even love me. I decided to keep myself busy so that I could fill the void that I had been feeling for a very long time. I joined a travel company which would give me the freedom to travel around within the city and to other countries, so that I would not be spending a lot of time at home after work. Though I had no experience, I used my connection to Dixon to get a job. At least Dixon had been useful to me in this way, and that was the only time being married to Dixon ever helped me. I was very enthusiastic when I started working since it put a lot of things out of my head. I could see a lot of positive change in me because I stopped caring and worrying about Dixon. At my job, I was assigned a mentor who would help me with my responsibilities till I was able to do them on my own. His name was Samuel, and he was a real sweetheart. I just loved the way he was so attentive to even the small things that I shared with him and paid so much interest in things that were not even work-related. Within a few months, I was asked to go on a business trip to put in a few travel ideas to the companies that we were affiliated with. Since it was just 2 hours away, me and Samuel decided to carpool and drive all the way. We both had similar tastes in music and books. The entire drive was filled with lots of discussions around music bands, books, and our opinions about them. We rocked the presentation, and as we were about to leave, we saw on the news that there was a big storm that had led to the roads being blocked off so we couldn't go home. The company was kind enough to offer us a stay at one of their hotels till the roads were cleared. We decided to make the most of it and hit a few local bars to enjoy a few drinks and to celebrate the success of signing up for a new deal. We started drinking, and as the night went on, more and more drinks were downed, and by the end of the night, we couldn't even work in our rooms by ourselves. I woke up the next morning with a pounding headache, topless and with no recollection of how I got to the room myself. I looked around and found Samuel sleeping on my panties butt naked. I put on my top, woke him up, and accused him of taking advantage of me being drunk last night. I could see that he was slashed himself and was unable to understand anything I was trying to say to him. I asked him to meet me in the lobby once he was all ready and not hungover so that we could discuss last night's events. We both did not remember most parts of last night. We had decided that last night was a huge mistake and that we would never discuss it or even mention it to anyone. Very soon we were sent on another trip because we were such a great team. We tried to act as professional as we could, but there was a lot of sexual tension between us, which was very undeniable. As the night progressed, we knew that there was no way of fighting it, and just like that, we gave in. We started meeting regularly, but I knew that with Dixon being so popular around the city, it was going to be very difficult for people not to notice. I decided to buy a cabin in the woods where we could meet whenever we wanted to. The cabin would be our safe house so that no one raised an eyebrow or even had the faintest of an idea about our affair. It was perfect as we could have the entire place to ourselves and not care about anyone. It was our 1 year together, and Samuel and I wanted to celebrate. I lied to Dixon about having a business trip so that I could go to the cabin to spend a few days with Samuel and celebrate being together for a year. Though we were not officially together, our hearts belonged to each other, so I wanted to make it special. I reached the cabin early to prepare and set up everything before Samuel showed up. I had everything in place, including the bed and the bathtub filled with roses and the champagne ready, as this was going to be our celebration of 1 year of being together. Samuel showed up after 1 hour, just at the time when everything was all ready and perfect. I had no idea that Dixon was following me all along. I don't know how he got to know about this place and interrupted our lovemaking session. He caught us in the bathtub filled with bubbles lying on top of each other. I was taken aback to see him here and that too like this. It was a very embarrassing moment for me. I never expected that I would get caught, and that too in this manner. I started screaming at Dixon that he was violating my freedom by following me. It was unethical and illegal of him to spy on me. He started laughing at me and my claims and kept pointing at the situation I was in. True that I was naked with another man, but that did not mean that I would be afraid to defend my own rights. I told him that irrespective of the state I was in, I had every right to protect myself from being violated. Dixon did not like that I was being so shameless with no remorse about not having done anything wrong, that he would have no choice but to make me understand that what I was doing was called adultery, which is illegal in a marriage. He said that he just had a very bright idea in his mind on how to make me understand the difference between right and wrong. Before we could even manage to get out of the bathtub, he locked us in the bathroom and switched off the lights and hot water. We did not even have our phone on us to call for help, and we were stuck in the bathroom with no clothes and just towels to help us keep warm. Dixon unlocked the bathroom after 2 hours and ordered us to get out. If I would have been locked in the bathroom for another 30 minutes, I would have frozen to death. We started scrambling our clothes to find something warm to wear. In the meanwhile, Dixon asked Samuel if he would like to be a part of whatever was going to happen next. Samuel, like the useless shit that he was, bailed out on me and decided to leave me to deal with Dixon. After Samuel left, Dixon questioned me that wasn't it our 1-year anniversary that we were celebrating, and how ironic of Samuel to leave exactly after 1 year of having an affair. I snarled at Dixon that if he would have been nice to me, I would not have to look for love outside of marriage and decide to have an affair with Samuel. All he had been since the time we got married was too busy or unavailable or unappreciative of my actions, which had led me to take the step of having an affair. Samuel, on the other hand, gave me attention, listened to what I wanted to say, and made me feel special, which Dixon never did. I guess that was the reason why I was attracted to him, and went so far as to even have an affair with him. Dixon laughed and told me to look at how it all turned out. The guy who made me feel special fled the moment he got his chance. He was not in love with me and just was using me since I was the one who gave him the permission to use me. I knew that it wasn't entirely false because I knew that Samuel was with me for his own convenience. I would be the one paying for most of the things and trips that we would take, but I did not mind that as I thought that he was actually truly interested in me, and also, I wanted to splurge Dixon's money as much as I could. Dixon tied me to a chair and started interrogating me. He asked me if I had been using his money and his connections to show off to my boyfriend how much I could do for him. It was true that I was using Dixon's money for all my rendezvous with Samuel, because it felt like I was slapping Dixon in his face whenever I spent on anything to do with Samuel. Dixon told me that since I was very confident that I could seduce any man with that face of mine, he was going to ruin it for me so that no other man would fall for that innocent face. I kept yelling at him to stop and that I would never repeat this mistake again. He got a bucket of boiling hot water and tried to force my face into it while I was begging him to forgive me, and that I would do anything that he wanted me to. He told me that though he might have not given me enough time, he made sure that I had every comfort that I ever wanted at my disposal while he was busy making money. The exact same money that I had been mindlessly spending on myself and my boyfriend for the past 1 year. He told me that he never forgives anyone who tries to take advantage of his kindness. I was trembling with fear at the thought of Dixon actually burning my face. I tried to coax him into not doing anything to me and change this by convincing him that we could start over, and that we both would invest a lot of time in working on our relationship to build trust. He laughed at my failed attempt and told me that he knows when someone is trying to save their ass and making up bullshit just to get out of the situation. Damn, it was going to be more difficult than I thought. I thought that why not try seduction, since that could be something which could help me melt his heart a little. I asked Dixon if he could do me a favor and scratch me on my thigh as I was feeling very itchy. He placed his hand on my thigh and all I had to do was direct him towards my panties, and maybe then I would be able to get him to untie me and then run for my life far away from him. I did get what I wanted, but not in a way that I was thinking of. Dixon did not untie me even after feeling me. He had sex with me on the chair that he had tied me on and forced me to pleasure him repeatedly for 1 hour. He kept slapping me and telling me how dare I have an affair, and that too for almost a year. I could see that he was being very rough with me, but I knew that anything I would say would only lead to him being harsher towards me, and I did not want that. He woke me with a start by throwing a bucket of very cold water on my face the next morning. I was still tied to the chair, but thank God my face was still safe. He told me that it was a good day to get a lot of things done. I was not very sure what he meant, but it definitely did not look good. I mentally prepared myself for the day of torture to begin. He put duct tape on my mouth so that I could not scream for help, and we headed out. He told me that the weather was perfect to camp in the forest. I could not understand what was going on in this cruel head. After walking for almost 5 kilometers deep into the forest, he found the perfect spot to put on a tent and make a bonfire. I didn't know if I should be impressed with his skills or fear what he might do next. He made me sit very close to the fire under the scorching sun, which made me sweat a lot. The sweat was the least of my worries now, since I could feel tiny specks of fire dancing in the air and then falling on my skin. I tried to yell with my mouth closed to Dixon that I was too close to the fire and might end up burning myself. I think he did that on purpose so that he could torture me little by little for deceiving him. It took almost 2 hours for the fire to die down, and I could see that I had burn marks all over my hands and feet that were waiting to be treated. He took me inside the camp and applied ointment on all my wounds and told me that he was very worried of me being so careless with the fire. Of course, he wanted to act like a loving husband after putting me through all the torture. I felt disgusted and did not even want to look at his face. He forced me to look at him and give me a very cunning smile and warned me that the more I tried to disrespect him, the more the level of torture was going to be. Obviously, I was scared for my life because I knew that he wasn't joking about a single word that he said. I was in so much pain that I had no idea when I passed out. When I woke up, I noticed that I was alone in the tent, and there was no sign of Dixon. It was pitch dark outside, and I could hear the night animals trying to hunt for their prey. The thoughts of Dixon abandoning me in the middle of the forest at night kept running through my mind. I felt that Dixon's torture was much better than becoming food to any of the animals and getting eaten alive. My hands and legs were still tied, and I still had duct tape on my mouth, so there was nowhere I could save myself if I was attacked by an animal right now. I felt so helpless, and tears started flowing from my eyes on their own. I tried to look around to find something with which I could protect myself in case I came across an animal. As I was trying to feel something in the dark, I saw the tent moving, and I closed my eyes and waited for the inevitable, as I did not even have the heart to see what was going to attack me. I could hear Dixon's vicious laugh and thought about how I could think of such a vile person just moments before dying. I opened one of my eyes and saw that he was standing there laughing at me. I breathed a sigh of relief, as you know, a known devil is better than an unknown one. He said that he was just outside to get some dinner, but never knew that I would be missing him so much. I decided that I needed to act nicer towards him if I wanted to make it out of the forest alive. We slept in the tent, and he made sure that I was going to be miserable the entire night without proper layers to keep myself warm. The next morning, we headed back to the cabin where he untied me finally after 2 long days. He asked me to clean myself up. I went to the shower and made sure that I took as much time as possible to enjoy being alone and away from Dixon for at least 2 hours. I could finally touch hot water after 2 days of living in the cold that I did not want to even get out of the shower. As I continued bathing, I could sense that the water was getting pretty hot. In the beginning, I was really appreciating the hot water, but very soon it was getting too hot to my taste. The water was so hot that I was unable to even enjoy my shower, so I decided to just get dressed and wait for further instructions from Dixon. As expected, Dixon was waiting for me right outside the bathroom. As I was making my way out, he pulled me into the bathroom, holding onto my hair, and forced me into the shower. He switched on the hot water and pushed me into the shower. The water started burning my skin when I tried to cover my face with my hands and was screaming and yelling at Dixon to stop. After 2 minutes, he switched off the water and asked me if I was okay. I was in so much pain that I didn't even want to have any conversation with him. I pushed him away and applied some cream to curb the burning sensation. I dressed myself and waited for him to get ready. He took me to a nearby hospital and told them that I accidentally burned myself while showering. It had been 1 week after Dixon caught me and Samuel in the cabin cheating on him. I had resigned from my job since it would take me at least a month to recover from the burns. I was just resting at home, and everyone coming in to see me kept telling me that I was so lucky to have such a loving and caring husband who had left his entire work just to take care of me. I could only scoff at their remarks, as I was the only one who knew the truth behind it all. In the 2nd week, I was supposed to go to the hospital to get my dressing changed. Dixon was asked to wait outside, and I thought this was the only opportunity I would get to run away from him. After my dressing, I asked the doctor to discuss with Dixon about my progress, as he was very much worried about how I was doing. The doctor was busy with Dixon giving him words of encouragement and the quick progress that I was making. In the meanwhile, I sneaked away from the room and made my way towards the exit. Once I was out of the hospital, I started running like a mad woman without even looking back. I took all these tiny little lanes so that it would get difficult for Dixon to follow me in his car. Once I confirmed that there was no one following me, I decided to take a break from all the running as I was not in my best shape to run for a long time. Thankfully, I had my phone on me, so I quickly went to the nearest ATM and withdrew all the money that I had in my bank account. I knew that Dixon would very easily be able to trace me to the ATM in no time. I threw my SIM card in one of the trucks that was passing by just in case Dixon was tracking my location. I went to a very dodgy-looking motel and booked a room for a day so that I could think of my next steps. Though the bed was not very comfortable, I could finally feel free as if I had just come out of a royal prison. The next day, I got up very early and decided that I could not stay at one place for a long time and had to keep moving. I left the motel and took a train to Ohio as I did not think Dixon would be looking for me there. I decided to start my life in Ohio if everything went my way. I would change my name, my identity, and even my personality if I had to, so that I could live in peace far, far away from Dixon and his shadow. It has now been 2 weeks since I moved to Ohio with no signs of Dixon. I can finally think that I am at a better place now, and no amount of luxury could buy me this freedom. Now when I look back, I know that me cheating on Dixon was not the right thing. The way he treated me was not the kind of punishment anyone would deserve. It was very inhuman and ruthless in my opinion. I would wish no one to go through the kind of punishment that I have been through. For anyone reading this, I would like to tell you that if you are in a situation where you think that you are being neglected, then please first try to get out of that situation before you do anything stupid, especially if you have a psycho partner. Then it would be better to first get out of that relationship as quickly as possible. Trust me, I'm telling this from experience that there is going to be no better way of handling this than actually running as fast as you can and as far away as you can first protect yourself. If you are alive, then you can do whatever you want to do with your life. So make sure that you know the kind of situation you are in before you try to do something behind your partner's back, and imagine that they are fools who do not know what you are up to. Thank you all for being a part of my journey into becoming a new person. I wish everyone lots of love and happiness in their lives.